Welcome to lesson 2. Today we're going to set up our flask application. So during the last class, what we did was we created a folder called student management system, which is this student management. And we created our folder called apps that contains all our modules. And this is a virtual environment, and this is our app.py that will run the entire application, right? So what we did in the last class, we activated our virtual environment, and we can see here, look at it. So they activated, get this here. So this is where we store our extensions and all our libraries that we're going to use for this application, right? So like I said, for this student application, I will choose 5 modules. For a real life scenario, right? All these things will definitely change, so I can accommodate everything in the perfectly done. But this is just a tutorial, right? This is just to show you guys how easy it is to build web application, right? So now we created 5 modules, which are the auth modules, department module, the faculty modules, the level, the program, the student. Now this static file is a global static file that will contain our CSS, image, and JavaScript, right? While this template file, which we have not defined the HTML here inside, will contains error 404. The reason for error 404 message is when a user type in a URL does not found in our system, so it takes the user to the error 404 HTML. So the same app for L505 is the server internal error in case anything happens in the server, and if there's a server error, it takes us to the 505 HTML, right? So for the messages, we'll define messages here too in the template file, but that will be on the next tutorials, right? So right now what we want to do, we want to set up our app.py and also want to set up our image.py in our application. So let me explain. In a standard application, Flask, we need the init.py, because the reason I'm doing these videos, right, is to show you guys how to create a very good structure Flask web application, because most students don't actually know that we can use Flask to build complex and scalable applications, right? Or it depends on you, because the ease of Flask is allow you create your stuff from scratch and allow you structure it in a well and organized manner. Because if you check the way I've structured mine, right, you can see how I structure the modules for this particular applications, right? So the next thing I want to do right here is to create our global init.py. Now the Flask init.py script allows for special files to initialize a Python package, and there are two reasons for doing this in the py. Which first one is the package initialization. This allows us to import modules and sub packages from the directory using Python import system, right? So that is why this is important, right? So it allows us to set up our configurations, allows us to build our application factory, which is the create app. Now this input file contains a function commonly named as create app, which will that place will do we set up our configurations, all our configurations, like the database configuration, the mail configuration, the session configuration, and other configurations which you will see as time goes on when we complete this application, right? So it's very, very important and makes your work look neat. So now this is what we have. So I'm going to set this. So before I start writing any code, there are 3 extensions we need to install. Which one is the first SQL Alchemy, and this contains the object relational mapper. Now almost every framework these days that has to do with web database application make use of the object relational mapper. Now with the aid of object relational mapper, it makes your work very, very fast, right? Very fast and easy and secure. But the thing is, the disadvantage is it abstracts you from knowing the raw SQL code. But despite that, how the object relational mapper works, it still takes it back to the raw SQL code. So it processes it back to the raw SQL code. So, but here in this lecture, we learn the object relational mapper, because why we are using it now, because it makes your system to easily migrate to any relational database. That's if you are using the structure, because we have in ORM in Flask, we have structure for relational database, we have structure for no relational database, right? The way I would structure mine, because no relational SQL relational database management system makes use of tables and relations, right? So but it's different from NoSQL. So the way I will structure mine here is for relational database, because in the lesson 1 we said that that is the scope of our of this course, right? So you can easily migrate, but if you're using the raw SQL code, let's say if you're writing a complex SQL syntax where you stored your stuff in functions, in procedures, in views, And if you want to migrate that to another um, relational database management system, there are some tools that allows it to easily uh, convert it to their own syntax, because the MySQL syntax for complex queries, especially for joins and for some kind of select, is different from the Microsoft SQL Server and also for PostgreSQL. So there are a little bit different, small changes, right? So there may be, if you're not that good, if you're not a professional, right, you may have problems. That means that allows you, that won't give you the room to be dynamic. So you just stick to just one relational database management system. But the other of ORM makes it dynamic, because everything you're writing here can work on any relational database management system. So that is the thing you need to be careful about. So in case you want to migrate, it's very easy, right? So the next library we need is the um, flask migrate. So these two, sorry, it's a two, it's an extension two. So this tool allows us to easily migrate our model to our database server. So next one we need is a driver. So for now, we'll be using the PyMySQL driver because we're using the MySQL database. Okay. So now let's start. I think I've already installed it, but if you want to install it, the code for that is pip install flask SQL Alchemy flask migrate, and then finally the driver. So if I click mine is already installed, okay, but if you don't have it, there's the code for that. So now we're on the init.py. I need to import these libraries that are installed, right? So the first one is a flask SQL Alchemy. Okay, I will import the SQL Alchemy itself, right, which contains many functions inside here, right? Inside here, we will need to initialize it. So the next one I will from flask migrate. Okay, import migrate. Yeah, this is the migrate, right? Okay, now I'll pass a variable db. Let me use small letter db. Then I'll call this function, this SQL Alchemy, which contains so many functions. So I'll do the same for this, make it small letter, do the same for migrate, initialize it. Okay, done. So we are done. So the next thing I'll do is to create a variable that will hold the user in the database. To create a variable that will hold the password. To create a variable that will hold the host, which here normally is localhost. Let me just put it by default is localhost. Nice. To create the variable that will hold the database name, the name of the database, which we created here before we end the class. Okay, now I'm done with this. So and there's one thing I need to do. Normally I can just say secret key. Normally I can just say secret key and pass blah 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 blah, yeah. Right? But we need to make it more structured, make it more standard and secure, right? So I want to write a function to generate a secret, automatically generate a secret key for me. Let me call it secret key. Okay. Since I have to import the secrets to this application, also string, because I'm using it to generate this. So we have that alphabet, then this is the string, the American standard and lower, actually, okay. The letters, okay, plus string dot digits plus then the alphanumeric in which we have the this and is. Okay, let me add this one, let me add this one, let me add this one, let me add hand is not there. Okay, let me add hand. Let me add the star. Then let me add this. Let me add underscore. Let me add this. Let me add this. Okay. Okay, these are the one. These are the special characters. Okay. Then I will return dot join equals to the choice. Right. Okay. Then the alphabet. Okay. Sorry, alphabet. This one here. Okay. Alphabet for in range. Okay. For in range of 24. Okay, good. Now, what this function will automatically generate my key for me, so it makes it more secure. Because the answer of me using this function is when we're looking at cookies and tokens, you see this is the best pattern, best design for that stuff, right? So now is to design my application factory, which is the app. So this function will contain all my configuration, my flags initialization, my configurations is the session configuration, database configurations, email configuration, and also other configurations that we may use in this application. But for now, I will just set up the flags, initialize the flags, and then um, set up our configuration for database connection. So now I'll initialize my flags, which is flags. I've not imported it yet. I've not imported my flags from flags. Import flags. Okay, so flags. So initialize it with name. Okay, done. Now I will set up my secret key because every Flask application needs to have a secret key. You can see I've already defined the function that will generate the secret key for me. So I'll put app.config secret key. So I will pass that function here, which is generate secret key. Yeah. So it's the same way if I'm building my API, which I will need the JWT token. So I will still pass in the config file here and then still pass in the key. Because in later future, I will teach you guys how to do a secure API using the Flask web application call. In case you're designing a mobile application that makes use of APIs or any other application like desktop application or any other thing like game application that will need makes use of API, you can design very good API here in the Flask framework, right? So that'll be on later lectures. For this lecture, is just for Flask web application. So the next thing I will do here is to set up my database URL, which is database. Let me use URI. Okay, URI, which is F. Then MySQL plus the driver by MySQL, which I've already installed. Now this DB user. DB password. Sorry, and DB hosts. Okay, we've passed the user, we've passed the password, we've passed the host. Then the last one we need, okay, we need the DB name. Okay, I think that's all. Okay, now I've set up my URL for my database connection, and this URL that almost every relation database we use. The only difference is I'll have to change these drivers here. So this is a pattern. So the next thing I will do here is to write my app.config for the database connection. We are not testing it here, but I believe it will work, but we're not testing it on this tutorial. We'll test it on the next tutorial. We'll build our models to confirm if our connection is actually set up correctly. So we have the SQL Academy database. Okay, then I will now pass this connection, which I already defined here, pass it to the SQL Academy and inside the config file. So I'm done with that. Then the next one is the app.config, which is SQL Academy track, SQL Academy track modification. Modifications equal to, should I let me make it first? I will explain this. Okay, now the track modification, we set it to disable, because what the track modification does is that it sets signal in SQL Academy, right? Now, the feature is not needed for this application, right? Because it can't consume extra memory. It's not needed. So that's why we set it. We set it to be false. So it's not needed in this stuff here. Because what it does is it's a feature that tracks modification to objects, right? It tracks modification to objects and sets signals in SQL Academy, like we have said before. So we made it false because it can consume extra memory. So we just try to play it safe, right? So we are done with that. So what next thing we need to do? Okay, we have defined, we have import our libraries, we have initialized this, we have passed down the connection, we have created the secret key, we have passed initialized our flags, we have passed the secret key down to this our app.config secret key, we have done our connections. The next thing we need to do is to initialize the application itself, which is db init, right? Db init app, the app is this. Okay, then the migrate that init app, set it this. Okay, now we have done that. We have set up this down to the app. We have set up this app and db that migrates, so I can easily migrate our model. So next thing to do is to return the app. Okay, now we are done with the init.py. You can see here self-explanatory, is very easy to understand. So we are done with the init.py return. So the next thing to do here is to set up our app.py. So what we need to do is from app, the app.py here, we have to import that create app, that's application factory. So from app import create app, we are importing what is in this one here. And why we're doing it from app, which means from this folder here, import this create app, right? Import this create app. So you have to set it, which is set it create app. Done. Okay, now we need to define the function that will run the entire application. So if name is equal to main, so what do you do? App to run, you have to set the ball equal to true. So automatically we don't need to like we run when we make changes in this application, automatically by it does changes, right? So that's how we set the bulb equals to true. So we are done with our ini.py. We've defined our ini.py, we've defined our database connection. We are done with the app.py, we're done with this. So on the next lecture, we shall define our models and then test it and see if it will migrate to our SQL database server. But before I go, what we need to do, I want to define my I want to create my schema. Schema is a collection of database and the objects, which is the tables, views, functions, procedures, right? So I want to write my database name here on my SQL server. So if I go to my SQL server here, So I'll just sorry. So I'll go to my SQL. So I'm using the MySQL workbench. So it depends on which type you're using. So let me see, because to give me the flexibility to do so many things. So I'm using the MySQL workbench here. So it's open. Okay. So I'll click on this, which I've already installed it. If you have not installed it, it's very simple to install. Which I'll post it on my next video. So I'll open it. So let me create a database, right? So now these are the schemas. You can see schemas. These are the schemas, which are the databases that contains each of the tables, right? So let me create a table, a database called create database. Let me call these management. Okay, then I've run this. So it's already created, it's already here. So if I refresh this, you see it, management, right? So I'll just copy this database name I've created. Go to my application here. I'll go to my ini.py. Yeah, I'll fix it there for now in database name, right? Okay, I think the user is root. Okay, now it's mainly the password. So in the next lecture, we'll fix that and we'll create our models and then test it if it will migrate our models to database. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this class. We'll see you in the next lecture.